What is the sound of one hand clapping? It's this ancient Zen Buddhist riddle, a koan that's literally designed to make you abandon pure logic and seek out deep, philosophical enlightenment. But if you drop this exact same question into the absolute high-energy chaos of viral Stickman animations, yeah, enlightenment is for sure the last thing you're going to get.
Instead, the answer you get is just this incredibly swift, totally deadpan, "let me do it for you," immediately followed by a giant resounding slap right to the face. Now, we really need to dive into this, because what we're looking at isn't just basic slapstick. In the wild, frenetic world of Rico animations, deep philosophy always, and I mean always, ends in physical Stickman comedy. It's this rapid-fire subversion of exactly what you expect, and honestly, it's absolute comedic gold. So, welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to break down the anatomy of absurdity, decoding the brilliant, unpredictable chaos of these viral Stickman vignettes. We're taking what looks like pure, unadulterated internet madness, and we're going to apply some actual structured analysis to it. Because right beneath the fast-paced dialogue, the sudden screams, and the utterly bizarre scenarios, there is a literal masterclass in modern comedic timing going on.
Let's jump right into our first category, logic riddles, or as I like to call it, the confession trap. So in this universe, characters are constantly using these seemingly innocent, everyday household questions to spring these inescapable psychological traps on each other. It always starts with a bizarre setup. One Stickman just looks at another and asks, completely out of the blue, "What's the difference between toilet paper and a curtain?" And right there, that perfectly isolates the tension. As a viewer, you just know this is a loaded question. The animator is deliberately building suspense, setting the stage for a total behavioral breakdown. And the responding character, they're just confused. They answer honestly, saying, "I don't know."
And boom! There is the furious punchline. "So it was you." This absolutely nails the bizarre justice system of Stickman comedy. In this absurd world, simply not knowing the difference between a bathroom staple and window dressing, that's undeniable proof of guilt. By just admitting you don't know the difference, you've accidentally confessed to a genuinely terrible, messy crime.
And of course, this instantly leads to an incredibly intense, furious lecture. The accusatory Stickman starts treating the situation like he's reading from a life-or-death instructional manual. He's screaming, "It's white, it looks like a cylinder, you grab it and you use it, don't grab the curtain." The humor here comes entirely from over-explaining something so universally basic, but doing it with the intensity of a hostage negotiator. It's just a masterful escalation of a totally mundane household disaster.
Moving right along to our second category, linguistic traps and the infinite dialogue loop.
Now, this is where characters blindly wander right into conversational quicksand and have absolutely zero self-awareness to pull themselves out. Here we get a classic comedic homage. One character gets a tattoo that says dude, and the other gets a tattoo that says sweet. Naturally, they start asking each other what their respective tattoos say. Speaker A asks, Speaker B answers with exactly what's written on his tattoo, sweet, but Speaker A takes that as a compliment, which prompts him to just ask again. It is a beautifully structured, totally inescapable cyclical trap.
But the real secret sauce here is the delivery. This dialogue, "Dude, what does mine say? Sweet, what about mine?" is delivered with this rapid-fire, endlessly escalating aggression. The breakneck pacing literally locks the characters in an eternal loop of frustration over basic, elementary vocabulary. Neither of them has the broader context to realize the misunderstanding. They're completely trapped by their own words, and we, the viewers, just get to sit back and watch this glorious train wreck happen.
All right, next up, let's talk about the quarter-life age crisis. Here we're exploring a super relatable theme, existential dread. But since we're in the Stickman universe, the perception of aging happens at absolute warp speed. Time is totally distorted by internet culture in the funniest way possible. 25. Just let that number breathe for a second. In the real world, 25 is basically the start of adulthood. Your brain has literally just finished developing. But in this animation, when a character reveals they are 25, the reaction is pure, utter devastation. It's treated like he just announced he has one foot in the grave. The response from the 25-year-old is delivered with this incredibly heavy, serious, melancholic tone. "God damn, I know, we getting old." It's this wildly exaggerated, dramatic crisis over simply hitting your mid-20s. The tragedy is just palpable. He literally speaks as if his best days are decades behind him, totally resigning himself to being this ancient, crumbling relic at the ripe old age of 25.
And then we get a hard cut to the other character's age, 19. And this right here is the main catalyst for the entire conflict.
The contrast between these two is just severe. The 19-year-old is boasting, right? I'm in my youth. I'm in my prime. He looks at the 25-year-old with total, absolute disdain. He's acting like the older character is some senile grandfather who's just trying to be funny. And obviously the 25-year-old takes immediate offense to this. It so perfectly satirizes how ridiculously fast meme culture and internet generations move. A 6-year age gap is treated like this unbridgeable generational chasm. It is an absolutely brilliant exaggeration of modern existential dread.
Which brings us to our final category, the absurdist pivot, perfectly captured by the sudden Dr. Dream. This category showcases the pure, chaotic non sequiturs that completely define this specific brand of high-energy internet animation. This is where logic isn't just stretched, it is picked up and thrown entirely out the window. Just track this nonsensical escalation with me. In the span of maybe 3 seconds, a character states, "I think it was pregnant," then instantly follows it up with, "I'm moving," and then loudly declares, "I'm going to be a doctor." There is zero connective tissue here. The hilarious lack of logical transition literally is the joke. It's a complete dismantling of narrative structure. We go from a weird observation to geographic relocation to a massive career pivot all in a single breath.
And what really makes it land so perfectly is the supporting character's reaction. What? Wow! It is so appropriately bewildered, yet bizarrely supportive of this sudden, entirely unearned life goal. The characters within the world are just as blindsided by the script as we are.
What we're witnessing across all of these clips is something we can formally define as absurdist pacing. This is the rapid, totally unprompted escalation of narrative stakes or dialogue for pure, disorienting comedic effect. And it's highly effective because it prevents you, the viewer, from ever actually predicting the punchline. It keeps modern internet audiences who, let's be real, are notoriously difficult to engage, completely hooked by ensuring the ground is just constantly shifting beneath their feet.
So, to bring it all together, we've essentially identified the 4 pillars of this Stickman chaos. You've got the guilt trap setup, where simple ignorance becomes a literal crime. The endless dialogue loop, where everyday words turn into cages. Exaggerated existential dread, where turning 25 basically makes you a dinosaur. And finally, the illogical narrative leap, where you become a doctor simply by yelling it out loud. Combining these 4 elements creates a distinct, brilliant, and incredibly engaging format that really redefines short-form comedy.
Which leaves us with one final thought to ponder. When you look at the sheer, unadulterated chaos of how these characters interact, are we all just one bizarre logic riddle away from our own absurdist reality? I mean, the next time someone asks you a completely random question about household curtains, you might want to tread carefully. You really never know what trap you might be walking into. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep asking questions, and I'll catch you on the next one.